Welcome back to another episode of A Record of My Father. Today we're going to be talking about a trend that we've been noticing in the past, my lifetime, selfishness. What do you have to say about selfishness over here?
I can't believe you say that society is more selfish. It's crazy. It's crazy. But I think many people would. Well, I don't know if they would or not. I just in my experience, my lifetime, I feel like that I have a completely different. I've seen the world change. In the 60s, we had a president that said, ask not what you can do, what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. And that drove the space program, that drove innovation, that drove so many different things. And then along comes the 80s, and we have a president that asks America, are you better off? And it gets very, very personal. It's all about that. And I think that it just, for me, and it's not an accusation, and I can certainly be less selfish and help more people, and I understand that, and I kind of constantly analyze how I can be a better person as far as giving for other people and helping other people, and slowing down on the judgment of those that have less or need. But I think that it seems like society as a whole has been, I got mine, fuck you, as opposed to, and this is just my personal observation, and people go, oh no, they did more for charity than they ever, and somebody gave $1 billion. And I mean, isolated cases or whatever. But we've seen, poverty is as big today as it was 25 years ago.
Oh, I agree. What I think about is everybody does something for something, right? Defenders of altruism, I'd love to see in the comments section if you could possibly defend the reasoning of all of these poverty influencers now that are going into this local business to buy a $14 chicken sandwich. I'm pretty sure these viewers have seen this.
I saw that shit.
Oh, exactly. And then they say, "Well, can I actually get 30 of them?" And then like the cashier's like, "Oh, what are you doing this for?" Very, very staged, very ridiculous. And then he goes and hands out the sandwiches, but he has like 10 million followers. And I'm like, "So you get 30 chicken sandwiches, but you have 10 million followers, and you're accruing this massive amount of wealth by spending $200 a month?" Like, I don't really I find that hilarious.
And then the funny thing I've seen is the people that make the sandwiches, the owner just happens to be making it, and he wants to go and hand them out too.
Yes, I have seen that as well.
And then I was like, really?
It's crazy.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, isn't that the whole premise of Mr. Beast?
In a way, yeah.
I love him. I love what he does. And he brings the idea of helping others, and he gives away the money as much as he can, as fast as he can. And it's a process. But it's like, that's what he does. He does a really nice thing for someone, and he publicizes it incredibly widely and says, oh, okay. Now, is that better? Or is that like, well, he does it, so fuck it, I don't have to do it. What do you think?
Well, he's really cornered the market on what everybody loves, which is free things, right? And everybody loves seeing other people get free things because it intrinsically makes them think that they could also get free things. Right. So I think that is why it is so incredibly attractive for people on YouTube, and why what does he have now? Like 350 million followers on YouTube, the biggest YouTuber ever. It's insane. And no, I think that people will always be attracted to free things.
Yeah. No, most definitely. I agreed.
I think back to the political kind of jurisdiction of this conversation. What we were talking about is earlier, I think a month or two ago, about how illegal immigrants that got here now are majorly conservative. And they're like, well, I got here on my own. They got to figure it out. And I find that so interesting. And that's not the only kind of demographic that feels that way, right? That's not at all the only demographic. It's a lot of other demographics as well. And I don't know why you wouldn't make it not as hard for other people. I don't know why it wouldn't be as hard, right? Could you give me an answer to that? Why they wouldn't want it to be easier for other people?
Well, I think that there is a feeling that it's a sum game. You know what I mean?
What do you mean by that?
I mean, it's like, okay, we got $100 to give out. That's all we got to give out. So if I give you $100 or $80, then there's only $20 left, and that's all we can share with the rest of the people, and the different things that they can do and get and help them and all that kind of stuff. So I think that what we're talking about is a limitation on the amount of what we give out, and I think that that's a bad way to approach it. And
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
yeah, and there really isn't. There's a limitation on the existing budget on what you can give away, but it doesn't mean that you can't do more, and it doesn't mean that you can't give more, and it doesn't mean that and I think that you know what I see, and I see this very and you used to see in the beginning, and you see it in welfare, and you see in the others where uh there is a there's a constant thing that pushes people to believe that those that that need assistance are bad people, are lazy people, are undeserving, and that it isn't just like when you have a program that gives $100 away, it isn't that or to 100 people, you don't get it isn't 3 people that are bad, it's freaking 30. They think that a third of the people that take stuff are just horrible, and that they would live their whole life in their free phone and all that other kind of happy crap like that, which I don't know if you've ever lived in a single trailer or had to live off of 75 bucks a week for food, or I mean, I'm not quite so sure that that's something that people target to do.
Well, this reminds me of the way you grew up and how your mother was always very obstinate of doing government assistance, right? Isn't
Right.
that,
Well, we
that,
didn't.
that was
The thing
also
is, government assistance didn't come along until the early '60s.
mm,
So we were kind of like we were the people that it was made for, but there was a certain stigma that you wouldn't, you know.
which there still is. There
I mean,
definitely
I
still is.
remember my mother telling me she would sell her body before she would take assistance.
It's a very interesting. I don't think a lot of people feel that way. I don't know.
Not now.
Not now. I think it was different. It was a higher level of stigma back then.
Your
Maybe
your whole thing. Here I am messing with my. Sorry, I'm just having a little.
Yeah. What are you doing? What are you doing over there, huh?
But the thing the thing that's weird is that I think that the mindset was everybody can do it on their own, and they'd never, through the 50s, it was the go-go 50s. So money and jobs were very prevalent for those that were normal. And
normal is in what aspect? What do you mean by that?
Well, I think that there's there's a fair number of people that came out of the military in World War II that were just broken, and we did not, and they couldn't fit back into a normal society. Like, oh, okay, we need Bob to just do this, and it's like, they could bury you in the bottom of the Pentagon to do something if you still were in the military, but if you weren't in the military, you were out in society, and it wasn't like you could work retail, because you're an asshole. There's just so many things that you couldn't get along, and you couldn't get along with other people, and because you saw this horror in war.
Well, I think you're talking about that experience too, in direct correlation of the way your dad was, right?
Yeah. That's where I'm coming with that, and I'm just assuming that he was not the only isolated case of that type of behavior in the world.
I'm not going to say that he was, but I think that PTSD varies over an extensive scale.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you see it now. There's a big blogger that does military guys that are SEAL teams, and when they come back, and if they hear people, they're driving down the road, and he hears like what's the music that happens?
Like a backfire or something from an exhaust.
Yeah, and they just
like
freak the fuck out, and you're like, you're just glad that they don't have a weapon next to them.
Yeah, I've also seen guys say that, And the guy, wow, there was another one that there was this YouTube reel or something. Man, by the way, reels are so addicting. Oh my God. I could feel my
Oh, they are.
brain melting in my skull as I look at my phone. Besides the point. The SEAL team guy though was like, I wake up 25 times a night to sweep my house. And I swear, if you go into his credentials, he was never a Navy SEAL. There's no way.
Oh, well,
There's
see, there
no
are
way.
there's that. There's a lot of
A
stolen
lot of
valor.
stolen valor on Instagram, I swear.
Yeah. Oh
Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
yeah. Well, that one guy, there's one guy. I don't know what he is. He was a Navy SEAL, and he only interviews ex Navy SEALs. You know the
I'm not too sure who that is. I feel like I
yeah.
can see his face. Does he have like a beard and he's kind of like bald?
No. This guy's kind of
No.
bald, and you
Oh,
know
I just said that.
got kind of a light open face, and he's very
Looks like any other Navy SEAL.
yeah, pretty much
Yeah.
Afghanistan, but when you saw the guys that were the toughest, they weren't the big bruising guys. They were the ones that were, built smaller, slighter,
Athletic.
faster. Yeah,
Yeah.
athletic, exactly. And I think when you think about that, it's the willingness to strike without waiting. And
No,
that's a
100%.
hard thing to do.
And also being able to go through the gosh, what was it? I remember seeing this thing that they were doing the camp. I
Yeah.
can't remember what the camp's called. Remember when we used to watch that Green Beret reality TV show?
Oh yeah, that
Talk
was
about government propaganda on Spike TV. Oh my
well.
gosh.
They had the
Spike
Georgia where they
TV.
would give them a tire and a log and a stick and a rope, and they would have them, and it had to move 300 pounds or 600 pounds,
I remember that.
10 miles. And they had three different teams, and they had to get it in a certain amount of time. And if you made it in 8 hours, you were fine. And if you didn't, well, you're shit out of luck and you're gone.
It's funny that we mention this right now because I'm reading Propaganda by Edward Bernays, right? And how
Yeah.
government propaganda is created and used to influence those that are barely literate enough to understand it, which I found to be even more interesting because you think about 46% of Americans can't read above a sixth grade reading level. And I think that's on purpose so that they are just literate enough to accept government propaganda
And
and to understand it.
That's the reason we need to get rid of the Department of Education. When you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, look at charter schools. Look at the privatization of it as well. I mean, you see a charter school strike up down the street from a middle school that's a public middle school, and it gets destroyed because they're not making SAT scores or standardized test scores, and therefore they are thrown to the wolves. They can't pay anybody. The school closes down. Therefore, you have the gentrification of the neighborhood around it, and then they go and have these raffles for the underprivileged that are barely able to get in. Maybe a third of the kids get in for the old middle school, and thus starts the disgusting nature of the charter school, which I find to be even interesting.
And then the charter schools they're not subject to any what do you call it? They're not subject to state requirements. They're not their accreditation system is different than a public school. They don't have to have special programs for handicapped people. They don't have to meet certain criteria. I mean, it's just like they're allowed to be religious and teach people that the earth started 6,000 years ago or 2,000 or 4,000 or whenever the heck they say Adam and Eve landed or got put here and Eve got pulled out as a rib. And, they're allowed to teach that as science. And,
I find that so interesting because, well, we usually get off topic in these things, but this is very accurate that the educational system has become intrinsically selfish.
Do you think
such an interesting, different way?
Well, and then you look at the people that are pushing the privatization. They're people that are, if I make a private school, I can generally make a profit at it if I don't use all the money they give me to educate children. I put it in my pocket. And so there's a strong drive to get people and push the whole idea of we're going to have a Christian environment. So then you immediately have an audience. They'll all come in. I'll put my kids in there so they'll show them the right way and teach them the 10 Commandments. And it's like, you've been using the 10 Commandments for thousands of years, and and you teach them every Sunday. So if that's not working, do you think shoving it down their throat another 5 days a week is going to matter? And it's like,
I gotta say, when they invented church and they said, "All right, we're gonna go every Sunday," terrible idea. Terrible idea. Oh
yeah.
my God, who wants to give up their Sunday? The institutionalization of that kind of aspect of society and religion, man, who want? Oh gosh, I don't
And
know.
here we are doing our our podcast on Sunday. I
Oh,
love that.
well, it's the Lord's Day. That's what we're doing it for.
That's
But
why.
what was the? I was gonna say something. I can't remember what it was. Hmm. Yeah, the privatization of education though in this country has critical race theory is what I was thinking about. And
Yeah.
how a lot of people have opted not to do it. But at the same time, I don't understand why
But
we
it's a college
go.
level course. It's never been taught in elementary school. It's never been taught in middle school. It's never been
Oh,
taught
was it really
in
just
high
a college
school.
course?
It's college. It's college level.
Oh, I
It's
thought it was
college
meant
level,
for
and
kind of a spanning over
it's an
all.
elective. If you choose to take it, you can take it. It's an
So it was
elective.
never an elementary, middle, or high school.
No, no,
That's so
no.
funny. The way they made it sound.
That's just a load of shit that they just sort of to roll it down. And see, this is the thing that really is funny is that when I start to look at the system seems to be getting more and more broken. I mean, the media is trying to copy what they do with the other companies that make the most money. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, like if you have a media company that's growing and it's writing stupid shit stories, well, but I'm going to copy that because those stupid shit stories everybody wants to click on and read. You know, so there's a profit motive. So back to the selfishness. Okay, there's like, oh, we're not going to tell the truth. We're going to tell what people will click on.
What I don't understand
Right?
either is when we decided that the common man wasn't smart enough to understand what was going on in government, and therefore we had these third-party media distributors be able to sift through the garbage to tell us the truth, which I think is
Well, I
very
think
bizarre that we said that the common man has a lack of intellect, that he won't be able to sift through the understandings of the government. It's far too complicated. Therefore, let's just do this easier motive for him
well,
to understand it.
if you look at who is it? Murdoch from years and years ago. He started out in Australia and the Murdoch Empire, which is Fox News and what the hell is it? 20th Century Fox and what else do they have? They have a bunch of other things. They have a bunch of newspapers in the UK. They have a bunch of them in a television, Sky, I think Sky TV or something. And
I remember that name. Yeah.
They tend to push a particular type or support a particular type of agenda. And they're kind of the first ones to do that on, and he became a kingmaker in Australia because if you had Rupert Murdoch's support, all of his newspapers wrote glowing opinions about you, and his news stations only aired your good stuff, and then they shat on the competition. So he was considered a big deal then. That he moved to the UK. He bought a number of different publications and basically applied the same thing. And then the PM, they used to say the PM, Prime Minister, if he wanted to be a prime minister in the UK, he needed to have basically kiss the ring, which is kind of fucked up, but
But in America, we passed the fairness doctrine that would enable both bipartisan medias to tell the truth, which doesn't seem like we really abide by that anymore.
No.
I don't know, not even slightly.
Well,
I don't understand.
We had it, and then
I think that's about a number of minutes, though, more so than content.
But before that, we used to. There was something that I can't remember if it was Reagan or Clinton that repealed it. And
You're right. You're right.
Yeah,
it definitely
they repealed this. What do you call it? I forgot what it was, and it had something to do with whether or not it wasn't necessarily equal time. It was more like the media that you had to talk about. You had to tell them. You had to tell the story. You had to be honest. You couldn't You couldn't knowingly lie about things.
I do recall that. I do recall
and
that
today, and that changed in the mid 80s. And I think ever since then, it slowly changed. It didn't change overnight. You had people like that's when Fox News came to America. And weirdly, before that time, it was illegal for a non-American citizen to own any public broadcasting vehicle. So I actually was looking at a deal. I worked at a deal when I was doing SEC work that was where, and we did it through a law firm in New York, where they figured out a way that Rupert Murdoch could control Fox News in the U.S. and only own 49% of it, and so and thereby skirt the our FCC rules and regulations that required. Well, see, because you don't want Saddam Hussein coming in and buying a radio station because he's got billions of dollars and pumping shit at your people all day long. You just don't want to give him that opportunity. I don't care if you say free speech. Fuck your free speech. That's not about free speech. That's about changing people's minds with bullshit. And I think that we've gotten beyond that. We now allow people to just shovel bullshit at you. The Alex Jones, it's just nothing but heaps of shit and lies.
We were talking about that at the end of the last podcast, how he owes $1 billion. You know who just bought, I think.
And he gave all his money to his father. He moved it over there to hide from it. And they're still going to continue to sue, and they're probably not going to get a lot of money, but they're going to steal. They're going to get the InfoWars name, and that would be one small success.
I think I saw an article. I'm not sure if it was fake or not, but The Onion has purchased the title of InfoWars.
Oh no, they did. They actually purchased the website and everything, and then people came back and fought it, and people being friends of Alex Jones,
I think that was so
he probably funded them through the money that he gave his dad.
Oh, exactly. Did you ever watch? It was it was a short documentary series, like a podcast documentary series about his foundings, where he grew up, and what happened in his life. No. And it was really, really bizarre because he grew up in the Midwest, or I think it was around Texas, if I remember correctly.
He seems like a cowboy.
Can't recall. Was in a small town. Had a lot of snafus. Was very loud. Always an actor. Very strange kind of guy. He gets beat up by a bunch of his friends because they invite him over. Not really friends, I guess, if they're beating you up, if they're gang beating you up. But then gets so embarrassed, moves to a different town, goes under a different alias completely after high school. It was really strange. Wow. And there was somebody. This was the kind of story that he was creating. Right, that he has told his viewers that, I grew up as a bully, or I didn't, not as a bully, but as somebody who was bullied. And then they interviewed one of the alleged gang beating members of Alex Jones, said that actually never happened. He fought me in my own house while he was drunk, because he was drunk 3 to 4 days a week. And then we had to fight back. We had to force him to leave. And he was so embarrassed that he created this alias of getting beat up by this group of men, right? And I think that is so strange.
So his whole life is built on shit.
Exactly. It's a lie.
When you think about the things that have made America better, I think sadly, the elimination of the United Healthcare exec, I think that's given people a wake up call.
I was going to bring that up. Yeah.
I think that's put people on notice. And I think that if he just went away, I think we would be better off. I mean, when Limbaugh died, Rush Limbaugh, who for years, just many, many millions of people listened to this guy. He was a number one guy that the people on the far right listened to. But he would just spew stuff that was kind of quasi close, but it was all about every problem in the world is the other side's fault. And the reason that you can't paint your door green or can't get this or can't do that is because they won't let you. They're out to just save people from painting doors or whatever the fuck. And it was a constant find some silly little thing and make a mountain out of a molehill and make it a big issue. And then that's what they do politically. They do that a lot. We're talking about trans issues where trans to go in bathrooms, and you think about, like, there's probably 50 trans people in each one of the states of the United
Well, it's
States.
less than 1% of the population, which why I don't understand.
It's under 0.5%. It's
sorry, my
crazy.
mistake.
And it's like, and you are doing legislation. You are spending millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars in Florida to make sure that those, 300 people that are trans or in Florida and their kids to adults. So you're going after grade school children for whether or not they could call him he or she.
Don't you think it's a culture of fear that kind of emanated from McCarthy?
I would agree.
I think that since 2001, we had the Islamophobia kind of deal, and we haven't had like an inner fear in a long time, right?
Yeah.
I don't think we really have. After 2001, you saw people fighting Muslims on airplanes, saying, "Oh, you're going to crash this plane. You're going to crash it. We're scared." Even that continued pretty much until 2016, 2015. And if I can recall, I remember seeing long-standing articles about Muslim women getting beat up on airplanes because of the stipulations. And now I don't think we've had an internal enemy for a very long time. And when you see the divisiveness that we have now, aren't we kind of making enemies of each other? Which I think is really, because we don't have an outside enemy anymore.
Remember, we used to be able to, we could beat up the Chinese or anybody that looked Chinese, which is
during COVID. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, huge portion of the Asians, we could just beat the hell out of them for whatever reason. I mean, and there were memes of them, and it was just like, really? This person walking down the street that's lived here for 40 years and they resemble somebody from China or Korea or whatever, and you just feel that you need to beat them up because it's their fault.
Because you're a racist. I mean, that's pretty much the only.
Pretty much.
Yeah. No, I thought that was rather disgusting to blame an outside population, and that people are so close-minded that they didn't see that this is just an enhancement from 2001, the Islamophobia that was existing then. Because that's what we always do as a country. We look at an outside population and say, oh, this isn't our issue. This is not our fault. This is your fault. Therefore, we're going to take it out on you for our lackadaisical reasonings of trying to protect our country in the first place. And I think that is rather disgusting.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, we have found a lot of selfishness today.
Yeah, and I think that so when people talk about things like how much they give or what they do, and it's like I've seen it in my lifetime what it is that seems to change people. I don't know what will make people have empathy for other people. I don't know what that is. It seems like people that have the same thing happen to them, then they understand it. But I don't think you can shove everyone into poverty, or you can change their mind on this is the pie of what we give away. And if we give away half to people that happen to be brown but live here, that means you only get half of the pie, and that somehow you'll get the whole pie if we don't give it to these people or this group or this ones, or these people are lazy and they don't deserve it because you're outside of the pie, you're just above, and you're just out of reach of being able to get any assistance at all, and it bothers you that you had to work your ass off to get there, but these people didn't in your view. And you're like, well, I mean, and then you see society as a whole, specifically, you don't see 10,000 memes about people going to food banks and seeing people that are, I've seen some documentaries on the long lines and some things on those, But you see a whole lot more stuff of the person on the corner collecting money and then getting into their Mercedes. And you think like, really?
Tax
You think
write-offs. Tax write-offs for
do
nonprofits.
you
Is that what
really
you're
think
talking
that
about?
someone goes out there and stands there for 8 hours to make money because they don't and they make so much money that they can drive a Mercedes
I've been in
instead
the
of going
car
to
before with an incredibly ignorant amount of people. They're saying, Zach, don't you know that guy? That guy dressed in a potato sack with flip flops in the middle of winter. He makes $100,000 a year. And I'm like,
yeah
well, one, clearly you don't understand how much money $100,000 is. That's also an issue. A lot of people in this society don't know the difference between 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, a million, and a billion.
yeah
We have a lower middle class and also even an affluent upper class that doesn't really understand the
what the difference
difference.
is.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
somebody that has, I don't know, that gets paid a minimum wage says, oh, one day I could become a billionaire. One day it's possible for me if I just keep working this job and I make the right decisions. And Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos is a self-made man, which I find to be so wrong that we can
Well,
believe
I think that
we're self-made.
you would be hard pressed to find anybody at the billionaire level that didn't have exceptional early options. Like when you look at Bezos had he went to Harvard. His parents paid for Harvard. They were wealthy people. He came out, he got a loan from them. It was brilliant what he did. Same thing with Musk. I mean, you can't take away from the brilliance of taking 300 million and making or 50 million or 10 million and making it 5 billion. I mean,
Oh, I'm
they
not
made that
negating the
happen.
decision making. I'm
Now
negating the
the question
aspect.
is whether or not, that if you give people those advantages and they can do that, well, wouldn't it be a good idea if we could give everybody a little more advantage? Because if we could do that, couldn't we raise society's mind as a whole? And it seems like they don't want to do that.
But they did it themselves, so they deserve it.
Because you know what?
They deserve it.
No, but I mean, if you gave everybody the opportunity to start with a couple $1,000,000 or the ability to start with a fully paid education to an Ivy League school, do you think that many, 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 many more, their success would not be as great, is what I would say. It would be a lot lower. See, so
you're saying if aspects of socialism were more prevalent in America, you would say that they wouldn't have. Yeah. Oh, I completely agree with that. I completely agree with that. And we're terrified of socialism as well. And we go to these South American countries and we say, well, it didn't work there. The experiment didn't work there. And I'm like, well, it didn't work there because we were selling weapons to the Sandinistas. So, I mean, you can't really
but
about
we
that.
we do want socialism because we want a national highway system. And if you look in China, one of the things that you have to look at now is communism. And it's like, well, look at the railway system. Look at their national railway system across all of that country. It is 15 years ago, it looked like ours. Now, every major city is connected. All the secondary cities are connected. They had this long-term plan. They looked at it, they executed it, and they've done it. And you can go they have Shanghai to Beijing, which is around the same distance as Washington, D.C. to Chicago. If you take a train from Washington, D.C. to Chicago, it's 10 or 11 hours. It takes under 3 hours in China to go the same distance. And you say to yourself, well, what would that do? That would really change the airline dynamic within the country. It would open up the country. We would get to know each other a lot more because people would visit and there would be a way to be, because right now the only way you visit people in the next state is fly, or you go on your big driving vacation.
I mean, there is highway systems, but at the same time, I think the demonization comes from an idea that it's a different and overarching government structure that would take over everything, when people don't even understand that the definition of socialism is just accurately paying the labor costs for a product, right, or a service.
I see socialism. I see that we do part socialism, and we do it for good reasons. We want a national highway system.
Public libraries.
We want police forces. So locally, we practice socialism because everybody wants to be they want some sense of protection. We want educated. We want population educated to a certain level. It seems like right now they want to privatize that, which I don't. I
That's
completely
scary.
disagree because it'll turn out the same way the healthcare system is. Because when you privatize something, profit becomes the motive and not the actual outcome of what the event is, or what you want to happen. We're seeing that. We've seen that in healthcare. Healthcare when it was it was a nonprofit and they didn't do they weren't stock companies and they couldn't do that till like I think Clinton allowed that to happen. That they were for the people. 95 cents of every dollar you spent had to be used on your healthcare. Now, 75 cents of every dollar. So literally, when you write $1 to a health insurance company, they are taking a quarter and they were spending it on themselves. They're having a party, smoking weed, going out, doing all that. And then they're taking 75 cents and they're paying using that for your healthcare. And it's like, that's fucking wrong. Sorry,
I think even the aspect of the stimulus check that people were so terrified of, which now that I talk about it, and
you
now
mean
that
the one that the guy that hammered socialism that spent $7 trillion? I mean, that's like,
isn't that crazy, right?
That's crazy.
That in itself should be a great American achievement that we have actually done that program, that we actually did that program, and that we actually got those checks out. That is incredible. For the first time in history, we did.
No, we've done that before.
We have. When?
Yes, we did that in. Did we do that in 08? I think we did in 08.
Did we do it in 08? I wouldn't. I
thought
know.
we bailed out the banks, but I thought we gave money to the people. I think we gave them like $200.
Oh, those that had their properties.
Something. I remember some check coming out with George Bush. George Bush gave a $3 trillion thing when the economy went in the shitter.
Well, it's very rare, but you know what?
Help America again thing
is that I think a lot of the spending that went towards those stimulus checks also went towards corporations, and I think that was really funny.
Well, the PPE,
there we go.
Those loans, I think that. It's not been audited very well. It wasn't the Treasury Secretary. I can see him. He's kind of geeky looking, but he was the guy that was taking a private jet, a company, and making the government pay for it from DC to Philly.
But how long? I feel like it's longer to get on the plane.
Well, no, not if you have if you have
private,
a limo, pick you up at your office and drive you to whatever private airport, and then take that private airport to the private airport and limo to where. You can argue that, I work all the time. It's like, no, you don't.
How long of a flight is that? Is that to like Raleigh kind of? It's probably like an hour. 20-minute flight?
No.
Oh my gosh.
It's 50 Raleigh. Minutes. It's 52 minutes to New York. Okay. So
I guess you're right. Yeah, I didn't even
Philly,
think about it that
you just got to go up and down,
10-minute flight. Yeah.
It's
kill some ducks while you're up there.
So I would think it's like 28 or 32 minutes, somewhere in that range, which means that you basically are doing a triangle, up and down. But it costs
bonkers.
20 grand, 15.
Oh yeah.
It costs a lot of money.
Jet fuel is not cheap.
Well, it's generally $5 grand an hour, depending upon the size of the jet you take, roughly.
Mm.
And that's an hour of flight time. So that's the last price I've seen when I've looked into it and tried to say, oh, well, let's do this and be super special and wonderful and all that. And it's like, yeah, okay, we'll try that,
Mm-hmm.
But you see how I've got three skylights here to my right, and that's why I keep moving my face around for the sun.
See, it's highlighting your eyeballs.
Well, we usually do these at night. So when we do them in the day, it's different. You have to adjust your whatever.
No, it's incredibly different.
Yeah.
I think also I've noticed just in general rapport, maybe it was the pandemic, but holding the door open for people, doing simple things like that is almost non-existent anymore. I was right behind a guy going into a store the other day, And just like it was almost as if he does what I do to you. You know, when we were walking and I close the door on purpose when
Yeah.
you're behind me.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
funny. It's a funny joke. And the guy just like didn't even look. I was right behind him.
I've
Right?
seen
That's happened
people.
hundreds of times to me
Okay,
recently.
I opened the door for your mother, and people cut in front of her.
Yeah, I've seen that too. That's a new
I'm
trend.
like,
I don't know.
and that's just that. That to me is more common courtesy. Maybe that is a little bit of selfishness too. I see that we have this. People talk about certain things. Pay it forward. You know, it's like, yeah, buy the guy behind you a Starbucks coffee who has a Starbucks coffee.
But you got to
But
film it. You got to film it. You got to put it
uh,
on Instagram. You got to do
yeah,
it.
otherwise it means nothing.
It means
Yeah,
nothing
which
at
I think is
all.
kind of, I, yeah, the whole. I think and when I think about charity and philanthropy and things like that, in the beginning, when you first start, if you really have your heart in helping people, you kind of have a neat idea of seeing your name in lights. Like when you give somebody money and you get come out on an annual report, or or they mention you on stage when you would go to one of these events and stuff like that. But as you do it more and more, then you start to realize that I got to stop being uh, uh, greedy for the attention, I guess.
I think about every college ever that has a gymnasium named after some rich guy,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
With his name on the side, the
yeah.
John D. Rockefeller Center, what have you. I don't know. It's just,
Well, I think if somehow someone gives me $1 billion and I end up building a building to study why people are stupid, uh,
you gonna go
on
give a
on
gymnasium
Harvard,
to ODU? You gonna go do that?
no,
I
I would
feel like
never.
I
I
owe
would.
the
I would never give
university.
them anything. I would
I,
never give them anything. They. When I left there, the administration was so backward and so bad, and the people that advised me were so wrong, and the hell that they put me through after I got I had to basically force them to give me my degree. I no, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
I owe
I
the
wouldn't.
University of Virginia and the field school nothing. And I think at the same time, what I find
Yeah,
so wonky is the aspect that they're still sending my dead grandfather emails for money to fund the field school. I think that that is ridiculous. I don't know. I think that that
yeah,
is talk about American greed, which is also paired with our topic of the day, selfishness.
yeah.
Sending
Yeah.
my dead
Well, I mean,
grandfather
when you look at
emails.
UVA, what's their endowment?
Endowment. Oh, it's ridiculous. But at the same time, they were building a library when I was there during COVID, and it
Mm-hmm.
was so expensive. And then I think they ran out of money because the building was too much. It was too expensive. And they're like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to increase your tuition during the pandemic at which you are not even going to class. Your tuition's increased by, I think it was $1,000.
5%. I saw
Yeah.
it. It
It
was
was
crazy.
and I wanted to spit on the school after that. I thought that that was
Well, the funny thing is when you say they didn't run out of money.
they didn't.
No, no, no. What
Oh,
they
they
did,
planned it to be
right? The
that ginormous.
UVA has their endowment's probably 600. Let me see.
Please pull it up.
Uh,
I'd love to hear what it is because if I
let's
think about it,
do.
it was rather large. Unless
Yeah.
I kick
Well, but
my computer here.
the UVA endowment, because I know Harvard's over $1 trillion.
You would think
And
that there would be some more public service opportunities that they added, but I think.
oh, it's not that much.
Oh, is it really?
It's only
Oh,
13.6 billion.
oh, wow. Not
Isn't
that
that
much.
crazy? I
Not
thought it was a lot more. Okay.
not that much.
$13 billion. That's wow.
I will say there is something about that town at which they say, "Oh, we have the school. Thomas Jefferson made the school. It continues on, oldest school, whatever, public UNESCO heritage, World Heritage Site. We're
Yep.
building up the town of Charlottesville. Therefore, we will do nothing in return." And I think that that is
What do you
kind
mean?
of strange. With public service, there's public service clubs and things like that, but there's like it's a town in the middle of Virginia, and you have all of these homeless people, and it's strange. It's so
And you're like, wow,
strange.
wouldn't you?
It's bizarre to me. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe somebody can explain that in the
They
comments
wouldn't,
as
you would
well.
think that they would have a better homeless issue, way.
Well, with how
Take
much
care of them.
money the school has as well, seems a
Well, the
little.
school, I mean, what the town of Charlottesville, you know, what kind of tax base do they have? Or the city
I
of
don't know.
Charlottesville, do they have a tax base large enough to be able to, you know, fund the homeless people? Or, and what happens in a lot of places, and this is sad, is they don't tax universities. They don't tax
Oh yeah.
they don't tax endowments. They don't tax churches. And if you start to look in a lot of different places, there's a church on every corner. So there's a huge portion of a city, a lot of cities that have no tax. They don't get taxed.
There are a lot of churches in Charlottesville. I will say that. A
And
ton.
they don't get taxed. And that's more space and state. And if you've got, X number of square miles to support, all the taxpayers are paying for those free churches and for that free college.
You just maybe had a powerful realization. Thank you for teaching me that. That was excellent.
It's odd. It's odd that you don't know that. Well, I mean,
I never thought about it.
We think about UVA and you go like, that sounds crazy. Let's look at
UVA makes up a large portion of that town too. Gigantic portion.
Harvard endowment. You know what Harvard endowments is?
What?
It's the world's largest. 53.2 billion.
Jeez.
Wow.
That's crazy.
I mean, you build a building for $100 million. And that doesn't even, let's say you make.
That doesn't even scratch the surface.
53 billion. If you make, 5% a year, you make $2.5 billion a year growing. Just put it in a savings account. And yet private school can't be free.
Nope, can't.
And you're like,
I think that's ridiculous.
Maybe we need
to
tax
ever request that.
I would think they would. I think that is something I would agree that taxing endowments should be absolutely done.
Yeah.
Don't understand why it isn't.
That would be a wonderful thing.
It's a private school, and but I'm also for. I mean, while I think that there are a lot of good things that churches do, I think that they should be taxed. I don't, just because you're a good organization or do good things. I mean, I would argue that there's a lot of bad things, but we don't need to go into that.
I love that the NFL is a nonprofit organization. I think that they don't need to pay taxes.
Yeah.
I think that that's a church for
What
many.
Do you think they're selfish?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
just the salary base.
If we go there, go to NCAA, the National something.
Oh yeah, it's all sports organizations.
When you think about sports, when they have the kids come in and play sports for 4 years and they get an education in basket weaving or whatever the case, but the school pulls in $100 million a year in revenue from.
They should be getting paid. They should be getting paid,
and not from you, but from the kids that actually play football or play this or play that. It's crazy. It's just
it is American greed. It's a real thing. It's a very, very
greed
real
and I would say it's selfishness and you've got executives that are at the top and really that are just all they're doing is pushing that we don't think we can't figure out a system to pay them. And it's like, yeah, you can. How do you pay the people in the NFL? Get real.
Yeah. I don't understand how.
Employees, hire them and pay them.
It's not that.
Shut the fuck up.
It's not that hard to figure out. It's not that hard to
negotiate a contract with a college guy that's 18 and it's just a lower number and pay him annually and subtract the amount that he gets for his education there and work it out. It's not rocket science. And even if it was, we know how to do rocket science too. So shut up.
We do.
Yes, we do.
It's not just crazy. That difficult. It's not that.
No,
difficult.
I don't think it is. I don't think it is. And I think that we've sat here and we've talked about a lot of different things about people that are, selfish. And I mean, I went to the local food pantry, delivered food this past Saturday, and I was shocked and I live in a relatively wealthy community. Would you think?
I would say so.
Yeah, I mean,
would say so.
there's a lot of rich people here. And yet at the food pantry, the line was it was hundreds of people. And usually when I go there, it's like 20. And it just seems like the number of poor people is growing. Just
Well, with
with every
inflationary
passing
prices of groceries, oh my God.
Yeah. Well, with every passing year, and I would argue that when you say certain things are inflated and they're inflated artificially, because it doesn't cost any more to make eggs, and yet they tripled. It doesn't cost any more to build a house. Well, it does. It costs a lot more to build a house, so I understand that. There's certain things that didn't. We had supply chain interruptions and stuff like that.
Timber industry fell apart. Remember that?
Yeah, yeah. Well, but you didn't have anybody bringing.
I think even the logging community still, or logging kind of occupation, is really, really suffering. Yeah. From what I've seen.
Well, remember 2020 when all the farmers were just letting stuff die in the field.
Then the milk, the millions,
dump the stuff out. And it seems like no one remembers that happened during COVID. That all of these businesses just poured their stuff out. Because this is weird. I can't get it to market because I can't do this or this or this, and you're thinking to yourself, well, if you gave it away, you could have given it away.
I will say it was unpasteurized milk, but I don't know the pasteurization process at all. So maybe it is really difficult to pasteurize milk. I assume that it is.
Yeah.
But I remember that one story about, I think it was like 1,000 gallons being poured.
No, it was
more than that.
It was 20,000.
Oh, well,
it was
that's
one of those tanker trucks. Those tanker trucks
kind of more than 1,000.
I think they're 10 or 12,000. I'm guessing. I'm really truly guessing. I'm not sure, but I know it's not 1,000.
Sounds like it's a little bigger than 1,000.
Yeah,
that's what I'm going to say.
But when you think about this, what can you, Zachary Brown, ZHB Productions, what can you or I, Phil, VP, Fluffy One, PLB, Phil B, Roger Ramjet, Space Cadet, I got all my names.
Did you get them all? You got all the titles?
Little Grit. What can I do? What can we do to make we can be less selfish personally, right? I feel as though I feel as though that I'm not a selfish person, and I try every day not to be.
I think going and following a code of moral ethics is important because that imparts on other people in your life. I think that you can really only control. There's this really big belief that you have this wide berth across thousands of people, but at the same time, you kind of do, because the way that you interact with one person on a daily basis splinters into this weird kind of effect.
So what can we?
Butterfly effect.
What can we do differently to change selfishness? Now that's a hard question.
Imparting a strong code of moral ethics. I think that is really important, because I think that's where it all begins.
Do we encourage other people to give more? And is that sort of kind of shitty?
I don't really know about the whole donation thing. I think that it's important to donate to charity, but I think imparting more personal interactions is way more valuable than saying giving somebody a direction. I think
so. You're saying I should shit on thy fellow man less,
meet more people, volunteer more, impart more volunteering aspects, because that will make that person better. That will make their children better, and that will make them less greedy. Hopefully.
And I'm retired and I can do it, and that's a good idea.
I think so.
Okay. I like that. I think that's a solid plan. What I'm going to do is there's a number of charities. I'm really looking for a food place where I can serve, and I was actually thinking about Share itself, which is a local food. Which is a local.
I think some too used to do that a lot.
But Share actually needs drivers on Saturday.
There you go.
to deliver stuff and pick stuff up.
It's
And
an
I could do that.
advertisement to our viewers.
And I could do that. I could do that.
Drivers.
I no, I personally could do that. And I think what it is if one of the things that in my mind or in my heart when you're talking about selfishness, it isn't that you look outward at all those other horrible selfish fucks.
I think that's kind of what we just did, right?
Yeah, but it's that you have to turn around and look at yourself and say, hey, you have to be better
from within.
And this goes back to the very first saying that what's his name said, that ask not what others can do for you, but ask what you can do for others. And I think that's not a bad way to live.
I agree. I love that.
Yeah.
I think we're wrapping up here. Thank you.
That. I really like that.
Thank you for listening. A Record of My Father podcast on YouTube, Instagram, and you're probably listening to this on Spotify right now, maybe. And do we have any other links? Go check out the website. We're probably going to put up merchandise soon. And have a great and wonderful day on this beloved Friday.
Yeah.
All right.
Is it Friday?
No, it's not Friday, but they will be listening to this on Friday.
No, but what day? What's the date? The date right now.
Today's Sunday. Yeah,
Sunday 12/8, and we're doing it during the day at 1:42.
It's actually 10:43 because you're on fake time.
Yeah,
He's
in LA, and I'm in. Where the hell am I? I'm in McLean. So we're on opposite sides. We should. I like the idea of saying the time and date.
That's pretty cool. I do like that.
Write it, and then when we post it.
I think we've done that a couple times, but we'll do that going forward. All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Party on, man.